There comes a moment in the life of every chosen one when the atmosphere around them begins to feel different, when the familiar no longer satisfies and the ordinary no longer fits. A moment when the spirit inside them begins to whisper truths that the mind has not yet fully processed. If you are reading these words, you are standing inside that moment right now. And before we go any further, it must be said plainly and boldly. If you are not one of the chosen ones, this message is not for you. This is not a casual motivational talk. This is not a feel-good promise thrown into the wind. This is a divine announcement, a spiritual briefing, a heavenly transmission. This message is directed toward a select group, those whom God Himself has been preparing, pruning, refining, and elevating in silence while the world misunderstood them. Those who have endured long seasons where nothing seemed to move, yet their spirit never stopped believing. Those who have carried visions too big for their environment, dreams too heavy for their upbringing, fire too bright for their surroundings. This message is for the ones who have felt unseen yet chosen, delayed yet destined, hidden yet preserved. And if your heart is stirring, if your spirit feels activated, if something inside you tells you that this message is speaking directly to you, then you already know you are one of them. For weeks, months, maybe even years, something has been shifting inside of you. You've sensed it but couldn't fully explain it. You felt a divine tension, a quiet restlessness, a pull that didn't make sense in the natural. You may have found yourself waking up with unusual energy, or going to bed with a sense that something monumental is approaching. It wasn't anxiety, it was spiritual activation. It was the vibration of destiny, calling your name. You felt it in conversations that suddenly no longer align. You felt it in desires that have changed without warning. You felt it in the urgency you cannot shake. You felt it in a sense that something big is coming, even when nothing around you seemed to indicate change. That internal stirring is heaven's signal. God has been preparing your spirit for elevation long before your circumstances catch up, before anything manifests in the physical. It stirs in the spiritual, and your spirit has been feeling the shift for a long time now. There's a moment in every chosen one's journey where God no longer whispers but speaks, where He no longer hints but announces, where He no longer nudges but commands the atmosphere around you to shift. And for you, that moment is now. Heaven is declaring over your life, it's time. Time for elevation, time for release, time for restoration, time for manifestation, time for the unveiling of what has been prepared behind the scenes. When God says it's time, everything around you begins to respond. Even if slowly at first, doors you could not open begin to crack. People who were blocking your growth are removed with divine precision. Opportunities that were impossible suddenly become accessible. Your confidence increases, your vision sharpens, your discernment heightens, your path clears. This heavenly announcement is the reason your spirit has been stirring. God is calling you into a higher dimension of assignment, impact, and influence. And for chosen ones like you, this elevation is not simply emotional or spiritual, it is also financial. Radically so, you are stepping into a divine moment that has been prophesied for generations. The wealth transfer, not the superficial version of earthly riches, but the sacred kind where God places resources, wealth, and influence in the hands of those who can be trusted to use them for His purpose. This is not coincidence, this is not luck, this is not random. This is divine timing, meeting divine preparation. You have survived seasons that broke others. You have endured losses that would have destroyed most people. You have walked through the fire and came out refined. You remained faithful even when your heart was tired. And God has taken note. Heaven has recorded your endurance. Your private obedience has prepared you for public elevation. Many people talk about wealth, but chosen ones steward wealth differently. You were never meant to simply make money. You were prepared for billionaire-level stewardship, not for ego, not for greed, not for worldly validation, but for kingdom impact. This is why your journey was harder. This is why your lessons were deeper. This is why your training was more painful. This is why God separated you from certain people. This is why you often felt alone. Even when surrounded, God was not punishing you, He was preparing you. As your spirit has been stirring, the signs have already begun appearing in your life. Asterisk, ideas arriving with unusual clarity. Asterisk, opportunities appearing out of nowhere. Asterisk, doors opening you didn't knock on. Asterisk, divine encounters with strategic people. Asterisk, sudden bursts of creativity or insight. Asterisk, unexpected financial shifts or breakthrough seeds. Asterisk, a rising intolerance for small thinking or limiting environments. Asterisk, a hunger for more. Even if you can't explain why, these are not random. These are confirmations, indicators that something in the spiritual realm has already shifted in your favor. There is a reason you feel different. There is a reason you sense urgency. There is a reason your old self no longer fits. There is a reason you keep hearing the call to elevate. Because heaven is preparing you for a scale of influence, abundance, and authority that would overwhelm you. Had you received it in an unprepared season, the prophetic increase that is coming will not simply change your bank account. It will change your identity, your environment, your assignment, your reach, and your legacy. You are being prepared to handle what many people pray for but cannot carry. You are being positioned to manage what others mishandle. You are stepping into a calling that is bigger than generational limits and longer than your lifespan. And so, as you read these words, let this truth settle into your spirit. Your elevation is not coming, it has begun. The wealth transfer is not a distant prophecy. It is unfolding around you now. You are not hoping for financial breakthrough. You are stepping into billionaire level stewardship because heaven has deemed you trustworthy. This message did not find you by accident. You were led here, you were summoned here, you were called here because God is announcing over your life, chosen one. Prepare yourself. Elevation is here. As you step into this message, chosen one, understand this. You are living in a prophetic season where heaven is rearranging the structures of the earth. The world is not merely shifting, it is being spiritually re-engineered. What looks like instability in the natural is actually divine recalibration in the supernatural. And because of this, you have felt the pressure, the stretching, the dismantling of old cycles, and the unusual stirring in your spirit. It is not random, it is not emotional, it is not circumstantial, it is prophetic. This is the atmosphere in which the wealth transfer begins. Global shift and divine rearrangement. As heaven's blueprint unfolds, we are witnessing global shift and divine rearrangements that carry the fingerprints of God. Economies are fluctuating, systems are collapsing, markets are trembling, and the structures that once felt invincible are being exposed as fragile. But what the world calls crisis, God calls recalibration. What the world calls decline, heaven calls transition. You've been watching the news, observing the patterns, sensing that something bigger is happening beneath the surface. These shifts are not designed to scare you. They are designed to prepare you. They are part of the same cyclical pattern God has used throughout Scripture. When earthly systems crumble, He positions His chosen ones to rise. This is why your season of loss, waiting, and uncertainty has never been punishment. It has been positioning. Divine positioning is often disguised as divine delay. You were not losing. You were being redirected. You were not stuck. You were being separated. You were not overlooked. You were being silently prepared. God removes what cannot carry the next season so that you are free to step into what He ordained, understanding divine wealth. And now, heaven is shifting your understanding of prosperity, because true divine wealth is not merely money, it is influence, creativity, insight, wisdom, alignment, and ideas that carry kingdom weight. Before money ever moves, heaven releases revelation. Before financial increase manifests, heaven deposits vision. This is why your dreams have intensified. This is why you have been receiving ideas at unusual hours. This is why you feel drawn to new fields, new strategies, new territories. You've been wondering why God is awakening new levels of ambition within you. Holy ambition, not worldly hunger. It is because divine wealth begins as a blueprint in your spirit long before it manifests in your bank account. You have had spiritual encounters that felt too significant to ignore. Visions, instructions, prophetic dreams, unexpected confirmations. These were not random imaginations. They were heaven's downloads, kingdom codes, asterisk divine blueprints, asterisk strategic impartations, preparing you to step into billionaire level stewardship. God is not raising you to chase riches. He is raising you to channel them. The wealth transfer is not about luxury. It is about assignment. It is about funding kingdom expansion, pioneering new systems, disrupting industries, building generational frameworks, and establishing influence that cannot be shut down. You were designed not to hoard, but to carry, not to display, but to distribute, not to elevate yourself, but to advance the kingdom. This is why your spirit has been restless. This is why the thought of a normal life no longer satisfies you. This is why mediocrity feels suffocating. You were born for more, and heaven is now revealing why. The rise of divine visionaries. And as the world is shaking, a new breed of leaders is emerging from the ashes of chaos. Not those chosen by human systems, but those anointed in secret by the hand of God. These are the visionaries who rise during crises, those who see opportunity where others see destruction. You have likely felt this calling inside you, a pull, a pressure, a holy dissatisfaction, a knowing that what once fit no longer aligns with who you are becoming. This inner shift is not accidental. It is a spiritual marking. It is a sign that you are being summoned to step into roles you once thought were impossible. There is a mantle of leadership forming on your life, a mantle that goes beyond titles, positions, or recognition. And if you've been asking God, why me? Why now? Why this pressure? The answer is simple. Because you were chosen to be a visionary in a time of global volatility. Visionaries are birthed in shaking seasons. Movements begin in uncertain times. Kingdom builders arise when the world crumbles. Your elevation is not happening in comfort, it is happening in chaos. Just like every major God-ordained transition throughout Scripture. But understand this, you will always know elevation is near when spiritual warfare intensifies. Many chosen ones assume warfare means they are under attack because they did something wrong. But the truth is, the opposite warfare increases because heaven has marked you for something right. Your battles have been confirmation. Your midnight tears have been indicators. Your inner resistance has been a sign of spiritual expansion. The enemy always fights hardest at the edge of breakthrough. And the fact that you are still standing, still believing, still pressing forward despite everything thrown at you is proof that you are stepping into a season where prophetic wealth is not just promised, it is unfolding. As you step further into this message, chosen one, there comes a moment when you must finally admit what your spirit has been whispering for months or even years. You are being called into a higher dimension of abundance. Not the shallow abundance the world chases fleeting, cosmetic, ego-driven, but the authentic, divine abundance that expands purpose, elevates calling, and strengthens impact. This call has been growing louder within you, and though you have tried to silence it at times, it refuses to fade because heaven is pushing you toward a life that reflects your true spiritual identity, spiritual discontent, and internal shifts. And so the first sign of this calling is that you have been feeling spiritually discontent, stretched, and restless with mediocrity. The things that once satisfied you no longer do. The circles you once fit into now feel tight. The routines you once enjoyed now feel too small. It's as though your spirit is expanding beyond the walls you've lived in for years. You have tried to convince yourself that you should stay grateful for what you have, and you are grateful, but something inside you keeps saying, there must be more. That whisper is not greed, not pride, not impatience. It is the sound of destiny waking up. God is revealing to you that limitation no longer honors Him. You were not created to live under ceilings. You were not designed to shrink for the comfort of others. You were not anointed to stay in environments that stifle your brilliance. You've started to realize that playing small is not humility, it is disobedience to your calling. And with this revelation comes a new understanding. Money is not the destination, it is the instrument. It is the tool through which your assignment is carried out. It is the means by which dreams are funded, communities are built, families are restored, and generational curses are broken. Money in the hands of a chosen one is not vanity, it is stewardship. This is why you have felt a shift in your relationship with abundance, not longing for it out of desperation, but understanding it out of purpose. Transformation of mindset and environment. And as this inner awakening unfolds, you begin to notice that your mindset is transforming and your environment is shifting to match it. People who were once central to your life begin to drift away. Conversations that once entertained you now exhaust you. Old associations fall away, not because you are judging them, but because your spirit is outgrowing what your past self once tolerated. Elevation demands separation. If God has been removing people from your life, changing your interests, redirecting your focus, or altering your desires, it is because your spirit is elevating to a new frequency that no longer aligns with the old version of you. Suddenly, your sensitivity to purpose intensifies. You feel spiritually allergic to distractions. You feel repelled by small thinking. You crave depth, alignment, clarity, and growth. It is not that you dislike people, it's that your spirit can no longer settle for environments that dishonor where God is taking you. At the same time, you begin receiving inspired ideas and visions, often at unexpected moments. You feel downloads of creativity you cannot explain. Solutions come to you out of nowhere. Strategies rise within you that feel too advanced to be accidental. You sense that heaven is dropping seeds into your mind, seeds meant to become legacy. These ideas are not just creativity, they are prophetic invitations into your next dimension, faith becoming a wealth magnet. And as these inner transformations unfold, something even more powerful begins to shift. Your faith transitions from passive belief to active magnetism. You no longer pray out of desperation, you pray out of authority. You no longer ask for survival, you ask for abundance that matches the assignment on your life. You begin to understand that in the kingdom, faith attracts what striving never could. So you stop hustling from fear and you start serving from clarity. You stop grinding to prove yourself and you start giving because you are overflowing. You stop chasing opportunities and you begin attracting alignment. There is a vibrational shift, a spiritual frequency that becomes your new state of being. You rise each morning with expectation instead of anxiety. You operate from abundance instead of scarcity. You move with confidence instead of hesitation. You live with purpose instead of survival. This shift is not psychological, it is spiritual. You become a magnet for the right people, a magnet for ideas, a magnet for opportunities, a magnet for divine connections. And suddenly, what once required force begins to flow. Doors that were shut begin to open. Resources that were delayed begin to move. People who overlooked you begin to notice. Situations that felt impossible begin to align. Not because you chased them, but because heaven began directing them toward you. This is what it means to live as if the promise already exists. You carry yourself differently. You think differently. You speak differently. You pray differently. You make decisions not based on where you are, but where God said you're going. And in doing so, you become the evidence of a spiritual truth. Faith is the currency that opens the doors. Money will eventually walk through. Chosen one, your spirit has already moved into abundance. Your circumstances are simply catching up. Chosen one, as you move deeper into this divine revelation, there comes a moment when heaven begins to reveal unmistakable signs that you are being prepared for a higher dimension of wealth, influence, and spiritual stewardship. These signs are not random. They are spiritual markers pointing to the transformation taking place inside you. Shifts that confirm that what you are becoming is far more important than what you are leaving behind. In this sacred season of elevation, God reveals preparation long before manifestation, elevation long before recognition, and abundance long before the world sees any evidence. Below are 10 prophetic signs that heaven is actively preparing you for wealth. Signs that show not only what is happening around you, but what is awakening within you. One of the clearest signs that God is preparing you for financial elevation is the strange, unexplainable peace you feel even when your outer circumstances look unstable or unpredictable. You should be anxious, but you're not. You should be overwhelmed, but something inside you is calm. This is not denial. This is alignment. It is the peace that surpasses understanding, the peace reserved only for those who are being positioned for greater stewardship. This inner stillness is evidence that your spirit has stepped into a future your eyes have not yet seen. It is heaven's way of saying, I've already gone ahead of you. This peace is training you to operate in abundance, without panic, fear, or scarcity. Another unmistakable sign is that your desire for material validation is dissolving. You are no longer impressed by what impresses the world. You do not chase trends, brands, approval, or external symbols of success. This detachment is not a rejection of wealth, it is preparation for it. God cannot elevate someone whose identity depends on the very things they are called to steward. You are being refined, purified, and freed from the illusions of status so you can handle true prosperity without losing your soul. Material things no longer control you. Your spirit has outgrown shallow definitions of success. A major sign of preparation is that you have been receiving ideas, concepts, visions, and solutions that seem wiser, bigger, and more advanced than your current reality. These ideas flow through you like rivers, unexpected, profound, almost supernatural. They might arrive as business concepts, creative inspirations, structural strategies, or sudden clarity around your calling. You may find yourself thinking, where did this come from? Why do I suddenly see things so clearly? This is because heaven is downloading the blueprint for your elevation. God releases ideas before He releases income. You do not need capital, yet you need vision. And He is giving you plenty. You will notice that new people begin entering your life. People with wisdom, influence, vision, or spiritual maturity. They may show up suddenly, unexpectedly, or through divine timing that feels too precise to be coincidence. These are not random connections. These are destiny alignments. They challenge your thinking. They elevate your standards. They open your eyes to potential you forgot you had. God sends people to water the seeds He planted in you. The right connections confirm that heaven is expanding your territory. Another sign is that certain things begin to happen quickly, faster than your effort, skill, or experience should allow. Doors open that should have stayed closed. Opportunities come that you didn't apply for. People speak your name in rooms you've never entered. You may feel unqualified, underprepared, or even surprised, but favor does not operate by logic, it operates by assignment. When you are being prepared for wealth, you will experience pockets of acceleration moments, where God speeds up what should have taken years. It is divine confirmation. You are in your season. In this season, God closes doors you thought you wanted, needed, or depended on. Relationships end. Opportunities fall apart. Partnerships dissolve. Plans collapse. Not because you failed, but because heaven intervened. Closed doors in this chapter are not rejection, they are redirection. Every door that shuts is a shield. Every ending is protection. Every delay is strategy. You may not understand it immediately, but eventually you will look back and say, if that door hadn't closed, I wouldn't be where I am. God closes doors to secure the future you are about to step into. Another sign many chosen ones experience is the repeated appearance of prophetic numbers, especially 111, 777, and 888. 111, alignment, new beginnings, open doors. 777, divine perfection, completion, spiritual breakthrough. 888, new cycles, abundance, financial increase. These numbers begin to show up everywhere: receipts, clocks, timestamps, billboards, documents. They appear so frequently that you cannot deny the pattern. This is not superstition. It is spiritual communication. Numbers are often used by heaven to confirm direction and timing. When these sequences appear repeatedly, they are signaling that the shift toward abundance is active and unfolding. You begin to notice that your intuition is sharper, your discernment is stronger, and your sensitivity to people's intentions has increased. You pick up on energy quickly. You detect dishonesty instantly. You sense spiritual misalignment without needing explanation. This increased sensitivity is essential for the next level. Wealth requires discernment: who to trust, who to avoid, where to invest, when to move, when to pause. Your intuition becomes a divine compass, warning you, guiding you, and protecting you as God prepares you for greater stewardship. A powerful sign of preparation is that you begin craving, learning, growth, knowledge, and wisdom more than ever before. You feel drawn to reading, studying, practicing, and improving. You hunger for financial literacy. You crave spiritual maturity. You pursue excellence with purpose. This hunger is proof that your spirit is preparing to rise into a leadership role, not just a wealthy one. Wealth without wisdom destroys, but wealth with wisdom multiplies. Your desire for growth is divine evidence that you are being trained for influence. And finally, the most transformative sign of all, a holy confidence begins rising in you, a confidence that does not come from ego, but from God. Your doubts fade, your anxieties quiet, your fear dissolves. You begin to walk differently, think differently, pray differently, decide differently. It is as though heaven whispers constantly, "You were born for more." This divine confidence is not arrogance, it is identity. It is the awakening of the version of you that God always intended, powerful, purposeful, divinely guided, and fully prepared for abundance. Chosen one, before God elevates a person into realms of wealth, authority, and influence, He always brings them through a series of spiritual tests, not to break them, but to prove them, refine them, and prepare them for the magnitude of what they are called to carry. Every chosen one who has ever stepped into divine abundance, Joseph, Solomon, David, Ruth, Esther, has first walked through seasons of stretching, pruning, and purification. And so, as you sense the calling to billionaire-level stewardship and heavenly responsibility, understand this truth. Elevation always comes after examination, not because God doubts you, but because the level of influence you are being prepared for requires a level of stability, purity, and spiritual strength that cannot be faked or rushed. Below are the 10 major tests every chosen one must pass before entering divine wealth. These tests will expose your heart, strengthen your spirit, and align your character with your calling. Pay close attention. If you recognize these tests in your life, it is a sign you are closer to elevation than you think. Your journey begins with the test of patience, where you feel like heaven is moving too slowly and promises are taking too long. This season frustrates your flesh but matures your spirit. You wait, you pray, you hope, and yet nothing seems to shift externally. But internally, God is cultivating endurance, emotional stability, and the ability to steward waiting seasons without losing faith. Patience is proof of preparation. It teaches you to trust divine timing, not your own timeline. When you can wait without breaking, doors begin to open. After patience comes the test of integrity. Here, God watches how you respond when opportunities arise that could elevate you quickly but compromise your values. You will face shortcuts, temptations, and invitations to succeed without character. This is the moment when you learn that not all open doors are from God. When you choose righteousness over convenience, truth over deception, and purity over ambition, you pass a test that few pass. Because God can only trust wealth to those whose integrity is unshakable. Integrity is what keeps the blessing from destroying you. Then comes the test of humility, a painful but necessary stage where it feels like you are invisible, underestimated, or even rejected. Others get opportunities before you. Others are celebrated while you remain unseen. But hiddenness is not humiliation. It is preservation. God hides you because He is still shaping you. He hides you to protect you from premature exposure. He hides you so that when He finally reveals you, no one can deny that the hand of God elevated you. Humility is not thinking less of yourself. It is thinking of yourself the way God thinks. Powerful, called, but patient. At some point, you will face the test of loss. Relationships end. Opportunities fall apart. Financial comfort disappears. You lose people, places, and positions you thought were forever. But loss in the life of a chosen one is never punishment. It is pruning. God removes what you are holding on to so He can replace it with something that can carry you to the next dimension. Loss teaches you that your identity is not found in things, titles, or relationships, but in Him alone. Those who pass the test of loss rise into abundance with clearer vision and purified hearts. Then comes the test of isolation. You'll notice you no longer fit where you used to fit. Crowds feel draining. Familiar spaces feel too small. You feel called away from noise and into solitude. Isolation is not abandonment, it is divine preparation. In this season, God quiets the world so you can hear Him clearly. He separates you from distractions so your discernment sharpens. He isolates you not to punish you, but to prepare you, because clarity cannot grow in chaos. Those who embrace isolation emerge wiser and spiritually unstoppable. One of the most paradoxical tests is generosity during lack. Here, God prompts you to give seed, support, kindness, time, encouragement at a moment when you feel you don't have much. This test reveals your heart toward money. If you give only when you have plenty, it means money still controls you. But when you give during scarcity, it proves that money is a tool, not your master. Generosity unlocks doors that prayer alone cannot. Those who pass this test step into supernatural provision. As elevation draws near, distractions multiply. Suddenly, old habits return. Unnecessary drama appears. Temptations surface. And people from your past re-emerge. This is the test of focus. God wants to see if you can protect your mind, your vision, and your energy. Distractions are designed to drain you. Focus is designed to distinguish you. Those who can maintain discipline in seasons of spiritual noise are the ones who rise into the level of wealth God is releasing. Before God entrusts you with great abundance, He watches how you respond to small blessings. Gratitude is not something you feel once life is perfect. It is a muscle built in seasons where nothing looks big yet. Do you celebrate the $100 blessing? Do you thank God for daily provision? Do you honor progress even if it's small? Gratitude shifts your energy, lifts your spirit, and opens spiritual gates. God multiplies what you appreciate, but He reduces what you take for granted. Every chosen one will face moments where God asks them to do something that does not line up with logic. Move, leave, start, stop, sow, wait, build, release. This is the test of obedience, where you learn to trust God even when you do not understand God. Obedience is the secret to divine acceleration. When God sees you move quickly, heaven responds quickly. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. Your next level requires instant obedience. Finally, God watches how you manage the little before He releases the overflow. Stewardship is about responsibility, consistency, and maturity. Do you manage your current resources with excellence? Do you honor what you have? Do you plan, organize, prioritize, and prepare? Because wealth is not given to those who pray for it. It is given to those who can manage it. Stewardship is what transforms temporary blessings into sustained abundance. Chosen one, if you recognize these tests in your life, it is not because you are under attack, it is because you are under preparation. These are the spiritual indicators that heaven is shaping you for leadership, influence, abundance, and divine impact. When the chosen one reaches the threshold between testing and elevation, there comes a clear and undeniable shift, a move from seasons of testing into seasons of instruction, where you begin to understand that abundance is not something people simply stumble into. It is something God guides His chosen ones into with precision, intention, and supernatural alignment. In this new phase, the atmosphere around your life changes. The confusion lifts. The wilderness feels less like punishment and more like preparation. And suddenly, you begin to recognize that angels have already been positioned ahead of you, quietly executing divine alignments long before you realize elevation was underway. It is in this sacred transition that chosen ones begin to see that their journey was never random, it was engineered. Every delay was direction. Every closed door was protection. Every moment that felt empty was actually fertile ground, preparing to birth something extraordinary. You begin to realize that God was not just preparing you for wealth. He was preparing wealth for you, and He's now ready to instruct you on how to steward it. Receiving prophetic downloads becomes the next sign that the shift is real. Because once God begins to elevate you, He expands your mind first. Suddenly, ideas begin to flow with unusual clarity, business strategies, solutions to long-standing problems, creative blueprints, brand concepts, systems, networks, inventions, programs, ministries, investment frameworks all appearing in your spirit. before they manifest in your hands. You start receiving insights that feel too advanced for where you currently are, and yet they come effortlessly because they are not coming from you, they are coming through you. Visions arrive not just while you are awake, but in dreams that feel vivid, symbolic, and prophetic. You start waking up with sentences, strategies, or instructions imprinted on your mind. There are days when a simple walk, a quiet moment, or even a moment of stillness triggers an inspired whisper, did not come from your own reasoning. And then there are divine messages delivered through people. Someone unexpectedly confirms what God told you in private. A stranger speaks words aligned with your situation, or a mentor mentions something that feels like a direct answer to your unspoken prayers. These prophetic downloads are not random, they are your spiritual blueprints. And the chosen ones who rise into divine wealth do so because they pay attention to these downloads, honor them, write them down, pray over them, and act on them when the Spirit says, now. Flowing in divine timing becomes the governing rhythm of your life, because once you begin receiving divine instructions, your spirit shifts from pressure into peace. You stop forcing outcomes, you stop competing, you stop rushing. Instead, you begin to operate from a place of deep spiritual rest, a rest that does not come from inactivity, but from alignment. In this season, peace becomes your compass. Pressure becomes your warning sign. When you feel pushed, God is not in it. When you feel anchored, God is leading. You begin to recognize the difference between human urgency and divine timing. Instead of overthinking every decision, you move with obedience. Instead of trying to figure out the entire path, you respond to the quiet nudge that says, start here, or say yes, or wait, or prepare. Your life becomes less about logic and more about listening, less about strategy and more about surrender, less about ambition and more about assignment. You begin to realize that the step God is asking you to take today is connected to the breakthrough He is preparing for you tomorrow. Everything becomes intentional. Every delay becomes directional. Every not yet becomes a part of perfect timing. This is when chosen ones learn that divine timing is not slow, it is precise. And as this alignment deepens, the role of angels in your journey becomes unmistakable, because the closer you get to purpose, the more visible divine orchestration becomes. Angels assigned, activated, and positioned begin to arrange meetings, align people, shift circumstances, and open doors you could never open through human effort. You meet the right person at the right moment. A conversation leads to an unexpected opportunity. A closed door redirects you to a greater one. A coincidence feels too strategic to be accidental. A rejection pushes you into a better alignment. A delay prevents a wrong partnership. Protection comes in ways you only understand in hindsight. Angels begin guiding you into places that match your assignment. They connect you with purpose-aligned individuals while disconnecting you from those who would drain, delay, or derail you. They shield you from deals that look good but would cost you destiny. They make sure you are in the right environment, the right room, the right relationship, the right moment, exactly when heaven needs you there. And in the background, they are constantly providing protection against misaligned paths, ensuring that your steps stay aligned with God's blueprint. Even when you don't realize you're being protected, every chosen one entering a wealth transfer comes under a higher level of angelic supervision. This is because wealth is not merely money, it is stewardship, it is influence, it is responsibility, it is legacy, and heaven will not allow you to mishandle what you were born to manage. At this point in your journey, the supernatural becomes normal. You begin to expect divine alignment. You begin to rely on spiritual direction. You begin to flow with instruction instead of anxiety. You step into a life where strategies are downloaded, opportunities are orchestrated, and wealth is attracted by obedience, not by striving. And slowly, you realize you were never walking toward wealth alone. Heaven has been walking you toward it the entire time. As you step deeper into your calling, there comes a moment of revelation when you begin understanding that wealth is not merely an achievement, but a divine mission. And in this understanding, you recognize that true abundance is never about boasting or building an empire for self-glorification. It is about building what heaven entrusts to your hands. It is about carrying resources as a servant, not a celebrity. It is about being positioned as a vessel, not a monument. When you finally grasp this truth, your entire perspective on money begins to shift. Suddenly, the pursuit is no longer about luxury, validation, or proving anything to anyone. It becomes about obedience. It becomes about stewardship. It becomes about impact. Wealth from God is always tied to assignment. You are not chosen to accumulate. You are chosen to activate. You are not chosen to store. You are chosen to release. Your elevation is not for ego. It is for kingdom expansion, generational restoration, and global influence. When you finally align with this revelation, you understand why your journey requires so much breaking, refining, pruning, and stretching. God was not trying to hurt you. He was trying to prepare you to handle the weight of blessing without letting it distort your identity. And it is in this purified place of purpose that you realize you are entrusted with resources for impact, not indulgence. Everything God gives you carries a purpose beyond the surface. Influence is for rebuilding lives. Creativity is for uplifting generations. Access is for opening doors for others. Money is for missions, movements, and manifestations of God's vision on earth. When you realize this, you stop fearing wealth. You stop resisting abundance. You stop shrinking. You stop apologizing for your calling. You step boldly into the truth that being chosen means being entrusted. But alignment doesn't stop at revelation. It continues when your energy begins transforming into a magnet for favor, because once your heart and assignment sync with heaven, something supernatural begins to happen. Your presence shifts, your frequency rises, your spirit becomes uncluttered, your intentions become pure, and suddenly life begins responding differently to you. People want to partner with you. Opportunities find you. Ideas flow to you. Resources gravitate toward you. Doors that were once locked begin to open on their own. You no longer chase blessings. Blessings start chasing you. This is what happens when alignment meets purpose. Miracles no longer feel sporadic. They become consistent. Breakthroughs no longer feel random. They become expected. Favor no longer feels occasional. It becomes a lifestyle. In this season, there is an aura around you that cannot be explained but cannot be denied. You carry authority, not arrogance. You walk with clarity, not confusion. You stand in peace, not pressure. These internal markers become evidence that you are on the path of destiny. When God is preparing someone for a billionaire level calling, He stabilizes them internally before elevating them externally. Your spirit becomes calm even as the world shifts. Your mind becomes clear even as responsibilities increase. Your decisions become precise even as your influence expands. This is the supernatural calibration that prepares you to operate at a higher level without being overwhelmed by it. In alignment, your confidence grows not because you think you are capable of everything, but because you finally trust the one who has been guiding you through everything. You begin to understand that destiny is not achieved through hustle. It is unlocked through harmony with God's timing, God's voice, and God's strategy. The chosen ones who rise are those who walk in purpose with purity, power, and spiritual poise. And then comes the moment when heaven begins confirming that you are ready, because every chosen one approaching elevation receives divine signals of readiness. These signs do not show up in luxury or validation, but in spiritual maturity. If you have endured the crushing, the waiting, the stretching, the warfare, the losses, the redirections, and the silence without breaking your alignment, you are ready. Heaven confirms readiness through inner stillness. You no longer panic. You no longer cling to what is leaving. You no longer fear what is coming. There is a deep assurance within you that you are stepping into a season you have already been prepared for. Heaven confirms it through opportunities that match your purpose. Doors you once prayed for are now opening, but you walk through them with discernment, not desperation. Heaven confirms it through clarity. Ideas grow stronger, strategies become sharper, and distractions lose their power. And most importantly, heaven confirms readiness through spiritual resilience. You become unshakable. You become steady. You become anchored. Things that once rattled you no longer affect you. People who once drained you no longer access you. Attacks that once intimidated you no longer touch your peace. This is the proof that the process has done its work. This is the evidence that you have been shaped, not shattered, prepared, not punished, elevated, not exhausted. When heaven sees that the character, discipline, maturity, humility, and resilience have been forged into you, elevation becomes inevitable. You become the kind of person who can hold wealth without wealth holding you. You become the kind of person who can manage millions without losing mission. You become the kind of person who can influence nations without losing intimacy with God. You become the kind of person who can shift systems, build movements, raise leaders, and steward resources with integrity. This is the essence of aligning with your billionaire assignment. It is not about becoming rich. It is about becoming ready. It is not about gaining wealth. It is about growing into who God designed you to be before releasing wealth into your hands. And once you reach this point, nothing can stop what heaven has written. Not people, not systems, not timing, not warfare, not doubt. The moment alignment is complete, elevation begins. As this message reaches its final crescendo, something begins to settle in your spirit, a knowing, a certainty, a spiritual recognition that you are no longer who you used to be. You have crossed thresholds that others underestimated. You have walked through valleys that would have swallowed weaker souls. You have faced storms that attempted to destroy you, only to discover that each one was secretly shaping the giant within you. And now, as you stand here at the edge of your divine transition, you can finally see that you've passed the tests. Not by accident, not by luck, but by divine endurance. And the reason this matters is because faithfulness in lack qualifies you for abundance. Not because God needed to see if you could survive without, but because He needed to make sure wealth would not corrupt your assignment when it arrived. You remained faithful when doors closed. You stayed obedient when answers were delayed. You kept believing even when nothing made sense. This faithfulness was not wasted. Heaven watched, heaven recorded, heaven measured your heart, your patience, your loyalty, your discipline, your stewardship. Every time you chose gratitude over grumbling, every time you chose integrity over shortcuts, every time you chose humility over entitlement, every time you chose obedience over comfort, you were proving that you could carry blessing without losing your identity, that you could manage increase without forgetting your source, that you could rise without becoming arrogant, and that God could entrust you with much because you handled the little with honor. What you thought was a drought was actually a divine development phase. And now, with clarity, you can look back and recognize that what felt like pressure was preparation. Pressure on your finances refined your stewardship. Pressure on your relationships pruned your alliances. Pressure on your mind sharpened your discernment. Pressure in your emotions strengthened your resilience. The pressure wasn't meant to crush you. It was meant to compress you into someone the future requires. It was preparation for leadership, influence, responsibility, and wealth at a scale your past self could not have managed. The version of you from 5 years ago could not handle where God is taking you now. The version of you that felt forgotten, overlooked, and small could not stand in boardrooms, carry millions, or influence nations. God had to stretch you. He had to refine you. He had to remake you. He had to prepare you for the weight of what is coming. And now that the preparation is complete, the time has come to rise. That is why this moment demands a shift, a step of boldness, not hesitation, courage, not caution, faith, not fear, because now you are called to step boldly into your billionaire calling. This is not a cliche. This is not a fantasy. This is not wishful thinking. This is alignment. This is prophecy. This is divine timing. You were not chosen randomly. You were chosen intentionally. You were set apart for influence. You were prepared for impact. You were shaped for stewardship. You were built for responsibility. And heaven has been positioning you quietly, strategically, meticulously for this very moment. This calling is not about flaunting wealth. It is about funneling wealth. It is not about ego. It is about assignment. It is not about luxury. It is about leadership. It is not about status. It is about service. And because you have matured spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. Heaven's timing has finally caught up with your readiness. You have grown, you have surrendered, you have aligned, you have transformed, and now heaven is ready to release resources with your name on them. Resources that were held back until you reached this level of spiritual stability. Opportunities that were delayed until your character matched your calling. Connections that were withheld until you could discern motive from manipulation. Wealth that was stored until you could carry it with purity. This is not about waiting anymore. This is about receiving, not about hoping, about manifesting, not about preparing, about stepping in. Your manifestation season has begun. It begins in your mind before it appears in your hands. It begins in your speech before it forms in your reality. It begins in your habits before it becomes your lifestyle. It begins in your alignment before it becomes your abundance. You are not walking into a possibility. You are walking into a prophecy. You are not entering a season of random breakthrough. You are entering a season of strategic elevation. You are not stepping into maybe. You are stepping into written. Everything is aligning to meet you. The right people, the right opportunities, the right environment, the right timing, the right resources, the right revelation. Your spirit knows it. Your energy feels it. Your dreams confirm it. Your atmosphere shifts around it. You can sense the unlocking. You can feel the rising. You can hear the invitation. You can see the signs. This is your time. This is your turning point. This is your divine appointment. Enter it boldly. Enter it with confidence. Enter it with faith. Enter it with expectation. Enter it with authority. Because heaven has already written your elevation, and nothing can stop what God has ordained for you. Not fear, not doubt, not delay, not opposition, not systems, not people, not circumstance. You are rising now. You are expanding now. You are manifesting now. You are stepping into wealth now. You are walking into destiny now. Chosen one, your season of divine wealth has officially begun. As we stand at the end of this message, but the beginning of your elevation, this moment becomes sacred. There's a stillness, a heaviness, a beautiful weight of glory resting upon you right now. Something in your spirit recognizes that this is more than just words. This is a prophetic activation, a spiritual commissioning, a divine transaction between heaven and the chosen. So as we enter into the final prayer, we begin by lifting a prayer for alignment, because alignment is the gateway to abundance, and positioning is the womb of manifestation. Prayer for alignment. Before we ask for increase, before we speak abundance, before we declare wealth, we ask for wisdom, humility, and clarity. For these three guard the heart of every chosen one, raised to steward great influence. So right now, breathe deeply, let your spirit settle, and receive this prayer. Father, align me with your will and your ways. Grant me wisdom that sees beyond the surface. Give me humility that keeps me grounded as you elevate me. Impart clarity so sharp that confusion can no longer distract me. Order my steps, purify my motives, and position me exactly where you need me. Let every decision I make be led by your spirit, not by haste or fear. Remove any voice that misleads, any desire that derails, any door that is not from you. Make me a vessel of excellence, discernment, and divine strategy. Let my heart remain clean, my mind remain sharp, and my spirit remain aligned. As these words are spoken, you can feel the atmosphere shift, as if heaven is adjusting the coordinates of your destiny, aligning every piece, every opportunity, every connection, every instruction with divine precision. This alignment is not passive, it is active. It is happening in you, through you, and around you right now. And now that the spiritual foundation is secure, we move boldly into the prophetic confession, a declaration of abundance. Because what you speak becomes what you walk into. Declaration of abundance. This is the part where heaven waits for your voice. This is the moment where your words become the blueprint for the wealth you will carry. Repeat these declarations in your mind or aloud as your spirit agrees. I receive divine wealth. Let it echo, let it sink in. This is not greed, This is assignment. This is stewardship. This is purpose. Say it again in your heart with full authority. I receive divine wealth, not someday now, not hypothetically spiritually, not abstractly intentionally. And now speak the second declaration. I walk in my billionaire assignment. This is more than affirmation. This is identity. This is destiny speaking. This is heaven recognizing you. When you say I walk, you are stepping. When you say my, you are claiming. When you say billionaire, you are aligning. When you say assignment, you are surrendering to purpose. Speak it again in the chambers of your spirit. I walk in my billionaire assignment. You are not asking, you are accepting. You are not wishing, you are stepping. You are not dreaming, you are embodying. With these declarations, heaven marks you. Angels shift around you. The spiritual atmosphere recognizes your authority. You have crossed from preparation into manifestation. And now, as this moment seals, we transition into the final movement of this message, the call to action. Not as a routine step, but as a spiritual activation that invites participation, multiplication, and alignment in the physical realm. As this message reaches your heart, your spirit responds. You feel it, you know it, you recognize the call. And so the first action is to engage spiritually, because engagement is agreement, and agreement is activation, spiritual engagement. This is why the message gives a simple yet powerful prophetic instruction. Type 888 or 777 as confirmation. These numbers aren't superstition, they are symbols in the spiritual realm. 777 represents divine completion, perfection, and spiritual alignment. 888 represents new beginnings, abundance, and financial overflow. When you type them, you are making a public spiritual declaration. I am aligned, I am awakened, I am ready. It is not the numbers themselves, but the faith behind them that seals the moment. Next, as carriers of divine elevation, you are invited to participate in a sacred responsibility, the responsibility of spreading light. Share the message. Because chosen ones carry not only abundance, but influence, you are instructed to share this message with other chosen ones. Not everyone will resonate, not everyone will understand. And that is good, because this message is not for everyone. It is for those whose spirits recognize the frequency of destiny. When you share it, you are planting seeds. When you share it, you are activating someone else's calling. When you share it, you are honoring your assignment as a spiritual multiplier. Your elevation is not meant to be walked alone. It is part of a larger movement of chosen ones rising in this generation. And finally, as you step into this divine path, you are encouraged to remain connected, because destiny is not formed in isolation, but through continued alignment. Stay connected. This is why the final call is simple yet spiritually strategic. Subscribe for more prophetic guidance. Your spirit is awakening. Your calling is deepening. Your assignment is unfolding. Do not walk into wealth without wisdom. Do not enter elevation without instruction. Do not rise without covering. Staying connected ensures that your spirit remains sharp, your discernment remains high, and your pace remains synchronized with heaven's timing. This message is not an ending. It is a doorway, not a conclusion, a commissioning, not a closing chapter, the opening of your empire-building season. You have prayed, you have declared, you have aligned, you have activated. Now rise, chosen one. Walk boldly into your billionaire destiny. Your time is here. Your season has begun. Your inheritance is unfolding, and heaven is watching, ready to release everything assigned to your name. Amen.